I don't want to make that journey again, Tommy. There is someone waiting for me now at the end of it, who's made a mockery of all my visions of splendor. He has in his arms my real birthright. I saw him on the television in the Reverend Mbopa's lounge, an Ethiopian tribesman, and he was carrying the body of a little child that had died of hunger in the famine. A small bundle carelessly wrapped in a few rags. I couldn't tell how old the man was. The lines of despair and starvation on his face made him look as old as Africa itself. He held that little bundle very lightly as he shuffled along to a mass grave. And when he reached it, he didn't have the strength to kneel and lay it down gently. He just opened his arms and let it fall. I was very upset when the program ended. Nobody thought to tell us his name or whether he was the child's father or grandfather or uncle. And the same for the baby. Didn't it have a name? How dare you show me one of my children being thrown away and not tell me its name? I demand to know who is in that bundle. Now knowing their names doesn't matter anymore. They are more than just themselves. That tribesman and dead child do duty for all of us, Tommy. Every African soul is either carrying that bundle or in it. What is wrong with this world that it wants to waste you all like that? My children, my Africa. So what we have is this program, which was about the famine in Ethiopia. And this program has shattered Mr. M's hope. It's clearly been building for some time, and it's now that the utterly devastating effect of that program is felt by him. He says that the tribesman and the dead child represent, do duty for all of us. They represent, or they symbolize, every single African. Every African is either carrying that bundle, carrying the burden of the dead, or they are the dead. The child represents all young people who should have a most amazing, magnificent future ahead of them, but who are prevented from achieving that future. This child by starvation, other children by their circumstances, which are equally appalling and horrifying. And he ends with this despairing cry for children and Africa. Notice that he identifies completely with the continent and with all the children of that continent. Children whom, in the ones that he has met, he has spent his life trying to educate, to lift them out of the poverty, to stop this situation, stop them from being that, from the poverty and the suffering. And now he's absolutely hopeless. Now, the controversy around this is that some critics have said that Mr. M here is falling into that stereotype of Africa, the lost continent, lost generations. It's just AIDS and civil war and disaster. But I don't think you need to see this as Fugard's voice. This is not Fugard's vision. This is the vision of this man just before he walks out and allows himself to be killed. So it is this man who, in the face of what he sees as his life's work wasted And he said what horrified him was the idea of wasted young lives. And he now feels that his life is wasted, and that the children that he's tried so hard to save, they are wasted, and Tommy, this very special child, his life is wasted. So I think you need to see it from the context of who is speaking. This is not Fugard saying, please accept this as a vision of Africa. That is not so. This is his character saying this at a particularly despairing and hopeless moment in his life. And it's at this moment that we hear the breaking glass, the stones, the sound of the crowd. He starts to move. Tommy stops him and says, no, don't go out there. Let me speak to them first. Listen to me. I'll tell them that I've confronted you with the charge and that you've denied them and that I believe you, and they'll tell them they're innocent. And he says, you'll lie for me? And he says, yes. Desperate to hear the truth. He wants to hear Tommy say, I love you, I care about you. And Tommy can't do it. He can't. Why will you lie? Ask him again. I've told you before. Oh, is this about the cause? Yes. Then I do not need to hide behind your lies. And he warns him again. And Mr. M says, do you think I'm frightened? Do you think I'm frightened of dying? And ringing that bell, he goes outside. So it's in these final moments that Tommy cannot admit that he loves Mr. M. So Tommy, possibly, where are we asked? Here, will you lie for me? He can't answer it. I think he's so aware of Mr. M's flaws, the mistakes, his own frustrations around this teacher that he's become increasingly irritated with. But when Mr. M feels totally rejected by Tommy, and in the light of this despair that he has just expressed, what he does, let's just look at it again, is he rings the school bell. So despite his despair, despite his rejection, he asserts, I think he's courageous, a courageous belief in education represented by that bell, and he allows the mob to kill him. And so we have a contrast with the first scene of the play. It was heated, but it was such a pleasant atmosphere. Mr. M rang the bell then, and immediately its sound was respected. He gets the silence of respect, and he's able to read his definition into that silence. As he goes out to be killed, he's ringing the bell again, but the bell is no longer respected. The man is no longer respected. The traditional ideas of the man and the classroom have gone, and he dies.